everyone, I am Tacet, and today I'm going to be going over the Gems of War Dino-Riders event, in which the Trihorn is added to the game. So let's get into that. As far as this troop, it is rather useless. It does come with brown-red trade stone, which is somewhat useful, but as far as the troop, not so much. It deals damage to the first enemy, and knocks them to the back, and then repeats that 2 more times. So essentially it's going to go and drag their first slot, or their last slot, all the way to first, while doing damage to the first 3 is essentially what it's going to do. So almost a full AoE while dragging the last first. Just worded in a bit of a weirder way. I guess that could theoretically be slightly different so if there isn't 4 enemies, if there's only 2 or 3. However, this troop is situationally pretty much never really going to be used. It does have the capability to multi-tapping though if there's only 1 left, but overall this seems like a really weird movement troop that really isn't worth the mana cost, especially since it doesn't have any amount of mana start. It only has 20% scar reduction, so nothing really too good there. It does have 2 times damage to stunned, but very rarely would you use it with some kind of composition that would. And it does have impervious, which is nice for a movement troop to have. However, this doesn't have any other value, no other board control, no other nothing to go with it. So it's probably going to be dead content and not really used for anything. Compared to things like Rope Dart, there really isn't much need to ever bother bringing out most other movement options due to how much better it is compared to anything else. And that tends to happen with a lot of different typings within the game, where something is just much stronger than every other option, and then that one thing just tends to be the only option that ever gets used for doing that mechanic. And that is one of those situations. As far as other things we have this week, we have 10% to all drifting stands and monsters. This is pretty relevant, as this will be 20% to the class event this week of the Dervish class. You also have 20% for several different things that are within drifting stands, which will be useful for the various events going on this week, since about half the kingdom or so are monsters that are also counting as drifting sands for that overlap for 20%. I did not advise doing it, but you also get 40 extra souls whenever you use the new glory troop that came in PvP and Explore. Other than that, as far as the event key drop table, there actually is some good things in here. So as I mentioned, it is a drifting sands event, and with that we have drifting sands troops. So if we just go over here into drifting sands, we'll be able to see all of the drops that we'll be able to get. If we just go right over here, click show all if you don't already have them all. And every single thing that you see here is actually available in the event key drop table, with the only exception being, of course, the new raid troop that ended up coming in this week. But aside from that, every other thing is available. Drifting Sands is composed mostly of extremely useless troops, including the new one that was just added. However, there are 2 good drops in here, and those are Shahbanu, Vespera, and Scorpius, particularly Scorpius. Scorpius is still the best option for token farming if you want to go do that extremely quick offer Skea. It can cycle about 30 seconds per battle and can get tokens at a very, very quick rate. There are alternative methods, but to my understanding, it is still the quickest, absolute quickest method for token farming, at least at this current moment in time. This could, of course, change into the future, like months from now. However, as it currently stands now, it is definitely a great option to consider. And yeah, he's available in event key right now, so if you want to attempt for him, do keep in mind that it's only 50-50 if you do end up getting a mythic. The other one could end up being Shahbanu Vespera. She's not a useless mythic, though. Both of them are at least useful mythics, so regardless of which one you get, you will be getting something that's useful. Scorpius currently, I would say, is a little bit better, but of course, Shahbanu Vespera, pretty good in that it has a lot of mana accumulation when you're using a pure color team, and sometimes finds itself into various Guild War days, particularly, of course, the 3 that it actually uses: yellow, purple, and blue. And of course, Scorpius is mostly just used for its double instant kill, even though it also has +1 to brown to all allies. We're also getting a mythic this Friday, which will be in Glory Gem Guild and VIP chests, starting on Friday for the following week. And that will end up having +1 to all purple, so we're going to be getting another one of those kind of mechanics later this week. It's likely not going to be that good of a mythic, however, it does share the same kind of premise that a Scorpius does, at least somewhat partially through its traits. And other than that, there really isn't anything that good from this faction or from this kingdom, other than maybe a Great Maul if you don't already have one. It's 100% devour rate, so a good instant kill option. However, as time has gone on, this has become increasingly less viable, especially with things like Iron Gut in the game. This is basically almost like a one-time use Iron Gut in a way. But if you do have Iron Guts, you almost use it 100% of the time compared to using a Great Maul, at least in the current state of the game. However, the Great Maul might be able to help you with some events this week, as he will be able to be used in both of them, both for raids and for the class events this Thursday. Other than that, of course, we do have our raids, as I just mentioned, so let's go into that. We are restricted to specifically Drifting Sands, so that doesn't give us too many options. As far as teams that we can end up using, oh, here's a cheaper team. I actually wanted to show the more expensive one for this. Let's see, where is the... did I not save it? No, there it is. I did save it. Let's see. For a second, I thought I only saved it underneath the raid event, because it only saves one team. So if you want to go get any other team, you have to go and paste it over. But of course, as we do with every video, all the teams that we show will be in the description below, as well as in a pinned comment. But anyways, here's going to be a Shahbanu Vespera team, slightly more expensive variant, but this will easily be able to go all the way to pretty much wherever we need to go to throughout the entire event. At some point, you might end up switching more into a Mang-oriented team, but Vespera's probably still be able to go all the way. As far as what she'll be able to do, of course, with a pure purple team, we can end up spamming her ability into a bunch of stat accumulation, and basically just get this all in onto our hero in order to just go and tear them apart with our ability. Do keep in mind that we're using double Mad Prophet. He is a purple from this kingdom. There is a yellow from this kingdom, however, he has a mana accumulating ability, but in both cases, they can only cast once. And keep in mind, even though we're using two of them, we can only ever cast it one time total. So if we were to go and cast them right now, we will not be able to go and cast them again. So do be mindful of that. So even though you have two in your team, you only can cast it one total time. And the main reason I'm building into purple instead of yellow is because he ends up giving mana to everything. Though there is a yellow variant if you did want to go down that route instead. And that's pretty much that with that. All you have to do is keep looping that over and over again. Kills pretty quickly, kills pretty consistently. Depending on which Doom weapon you have, you can go based on that. The yellow Doom weapon is actually available in Soulforge right now, so if you don't happen to have the purple one, and you still want to run a team like that and happen to have Vespera or get her off of event keys, the weapon to be able to run it is in Soulforge this week, so that's something worth considering. Speaking of that, we should probably start heading slowly over there. So as far as events that are going on this week, Tuesday we have ourselves our... City of Thieves. City of Thieves is the best farming faction in the entire game. Be mindful, if you are farming this at level 20, do not do the Tuesday event because it will permanently increase the level of your City of Thieves. So if you currently have City of Thieves at level 20, make sure not to do the event on Tuesday, as it is the best farming faction in the game, and I would highly advise keeping it level 20 forever. However, if you already have it above level 20, then of course you can go do the event. But if you haven't, doing it during this event will permanently increase it, so do be mindful of that. This Wednesday, we're going to be getting the little fairy little thingy. It's that brown mastery that ends up giving... it's the brown pet that ends up giving brown mastery, the one that increases mana surge. On Thursday, we are going to be getting the Dervish hero class, rather useless hero class. However, it does have one interesting caveat in that it has the highest dodge of any hero class in the game, having a 30% dodge into a 20% dodge. So that ends up being like a 40-something or so percent dodge overall, as far as what it ends up having, because it doesn't do it the full amount. It just adds a 20% onto your 30%. So it rolls both of them individually, essentially. So it doesn't actually give you 50%, unfortunately, but it still gives you the highest dodge in the entire game, at least at this current moment in time. However, that is so situational that you wouldn't really ever use it, and I don't know, it would need to be like at least 60% for it to really be viable. But as it currently stands, it's a rather underwhelming hero class, and one that you would really only get up in order to go and get the weapon, or just to have it for kingdom upgrading. As of this week, it is actually possible to get Drifting Sands to 14 stars. I'm not sure what hero level you need for that. I believe you only need it at apparently like level 20 or 30 or so, because this next level needs 40. So you don't even need to be that leveled on it, but you do need it semi-leveled to get it up to 14 stars there. But anyways, other than that, this Friday, as I mentioned, we're going to be getting a new Mythic. New Mythic will be rather useless, but it does give +1 to all purple per turn, +1 stats to all purples per turn, so that's going to be nice. It's kind of like a Yagway, except it's full AoE, but it doesn't have any board control, and due to that lack of board control with the higher mana cost, it's likely not really going to be used, just because even though it does have a little bit of a magic steal, like a Yagway does, the lack of board control with the higher mana cost will just make it way too bad to really make it realistic to use. It's also going to have a bit of a problem with the fact that it's higher mana cost with the lack of mana accumulation. It's just going to make it so hard to try to get it down against Submerge or against anything that really has like a hard counter mechanic, where something like Yagway, he can just go and bypass Submerge. He has the capability of doing those extra turns, and I don't know, it just seems like it's going to be a really underwhelming Mythic. It does have 50% spell reduction, but aside from that, Tina 9000 is, I would say, still the superior option in that regard, especially since this mythic does not gain any durability, whereas Tina 9000 does. Anyway, Soulforge things. We do have one decent thing in Soulforge as far as troops, Phoenicia. So Phoenicia gotten pretty good over the last couple months or so. Pretty much ever since Metals came into the game, she has been a bit more viable, mostly because of plus 12 magic is 24 additional damage to her on her ability if there's a Red Storm in play. So that makes her the strongest single cast full AoE in the entire game. This is used ever so occasionally in various game modes. This biggest purpose at this current moment in time is probably for running true trophy battles on Explore 5, which is the highest trophy rate in the game. However, it can be used in a few other locations, like to quick kill pet battles, like to quick kill dungeons, and other similar things like that. Even on dailies, you could end up doing it. The only biggest caveat with that is you do have to be using a hero class that has Red Storm, so if you want to use this as optimally as possible, you're most likely going to have to use it with Sunspear hero class. You can also use it with other hero classes that have a Firestorm, as long as they aren't already fully maxed out, and you can end up getting some class XP towards them. I think there's like 3 or so other ones, so you wouldn't just need to go use him, but it would be most optimal with Sunspear just because it perpetually does it forever. So if the battle goes longer than 4 turns, you'll still be able to have her double damage, being able to go every single one of those turns. Overall, just a slightly above average mythic, even though it is meta for a few things. And other than that, everything else that is in Soulforge right now is relatively bad and not worth going out of your way to craft. As far as weapons, we have like 1.5 billion of them this week. We have, I believe, 5 craftable weapons. We have our stuff, the stinging wind, which you end up getting from the raid event. Not really that useful. I believe you get it for what, 250 gems into the raid event, somewhere around there. It is a little bit better to get it through gems if you're already going to be doing the event, so I do advise getting it through gems rather than buying it through Soulforge. It's pretty much just one of those standard double weapon things just for the typing of Drifting Sands. We've gotten 1.5 billion of these weapons. However, this is one that I'm pretty sure I could definitively say probably won't be useful into the future. Of course, any of these could. Yellow and brown is a bit good for the kingdom. However, I just don't really see much synergy within Drifting Sands, and the lack of good troops other than the mythics are make it a rather underwhelming kingdom. So I don't really foresee this weapon being that useful into the future. The most useful thing to craft this week is the Doomed Axe. It is the most expensive, however, as far as weapons are concerned. However, it is very useful. If you have Vespera, or if you got Vespera, you'll be able to use it into pure yellow teams and have that as really great synergy, which you can run for the event and just in general, especially if you want to bring it into something like Guild Wars, if you want to go down that route. But great weapon, ends up converting all yellow to purple. It's one of the 6 good Doom weapons. There's only 6 of them, the ones that do full AoE into Doom Skull Convert, and this is one of them, specifically for the color of yellow. So highly considered worth getting if you are if you have the resources to do so this week. Other than that, Crystal Axe ends up doing a green-brown creation based on monsters. This is rather useless and not really that meta at this current moment in time. Again, it's one of those that might into the future, but as it currently stands, it is not that useful for anything. Stone Staff, you would just get for completionist purposes. You would never actually use this. However, it is the cheapest weapon you could possibly craft that is exclusive only to this week. So if you want to craft it for that reason, it is available. And other than that, we have Blade of Sand, which ends up creating just a Dust Storm. Not really going to be able to do much with a small amount of poke damage, and it also gets to remove all green. Overall, pretty bad for 11 mana cost little thing. I guess a Brown Storm could be useful in that regard, but obviously the better 11 mana cost option is just to run Mountain Crusher, and even though it doesn't have any kind of damage or anything associated to it, you'll be able to get so much more value out of it that Mountain Crusher would beat swapping out pretty much 100% of the time, or literally 100% of the time. So no real need to actually get this weapon unless you're going for completionist purposes. So yeah, 5 craftable weapons, technically 6 if you count the fact that, of course, Tuesday, for the Tuesday event, you could get the faction weapon as well. But of them, Doomed Axe is the only one that's going to be relevant to actually use. The other ones would just basically be for completionist purposes if you're looking to pick any of them up that you are currently missing. Anyways, let's get into a couple of teams, as well as I want to show a few of them in a few various instances. But first things first, of course, rates, the one that I ended up showing. Technically, I showed both, but this was the only one I ended up using, is the Vespera version. You can build this into yellow as well, doing the yellow common from the faction instead, and then of course going to the yellow Doom weapon, which is also craftable, as I mentioned, this week. So you can go for either variant. I personally feel like the purple one is better due to the mana accumulation. However, the yellow one is more accessible due to the fact that everything that is needed for the team is actually either craftable or obtainable in some way, shape, or form as of this week. Since Vespera is an event key drop table, the yellow Doom weapons in Soulforge, and the common is a common, so you could easily get it in the gold keys. So yeah, the other variant's probably a little bit easier to build, but this one is stronger. So I'll be using that. Other than that, if you don't have any kind of expensive options, here's a team that uses only ultra rares and below. So we have Mang, which you get a 23 brown red hero mastery, using it with Titan hero class, so we can tank with the barrier every brown. You get Titan hero class from Stormheim, which is in the top right, and then you get it leveled up until you get it to level 40. Next is the Ray Troop, which you get from, I believe, 90 gems into the event, somewhere around there. You end up getting at least one copy of him. He'll end up doing extra damage to the boss this week. He has a Destroy a Row or Become Enrage, and you'll be able to go and just keep poking over and over again with that. Hopefully it'll end up destroying a row. A little bit bad that it does have a little bit of an inconsistency with one or the other, but if it does get to destroy, it will be able to go and accumulate more mana. And with a 12 mana cost, that will help it out a little bit. Also has a little bit of skull reduction, which comes into play a little bit just so you'd be able to go and actually keep it alive if you're trying to hit skulls against the boss. Unfortunately, there really isn't any kind of easy way to bring the boss to first slot without compromising your team. I kind of wish Dust Devil would be able to do it, but it doesn't do a movement in a way that actually would be able to help it. Other than that, in case your Mang dies, Sandshark has a 25% Devour. This you're most likely just going to get all up off of Mad Prophet and just kind of hope he randomly gets a Devour. There's a very large lack of viable options within this faction for low rarity, and that's about the only thing that can really upscale for you. Other than that, Mad Prophet will give you a bunch of mana to your team, depending on what its magic is. It'll also be able to give a little bit of additional magic to them. However, the biggest thing that it does is the mana, which should be able to fill both your Sandshark and your Tyran and Rex. However, if you have enough magic, it would also be able to go and fill up your hero's Mang and basically fill up the entire rest of the team. Do be mindful, it is only able to cast once though, so you'll only be able to use that one single time, and you'd most likely want to do it when all three of your manas are down in order to get all three of them back to full, of course. And you'd be able to do that off of enchant simply by getting the very first potion effect. You'd basically want to make sure you cast all three of your first slots first, and then once your last slot gets up through enchant, you can just do that again, and all three of your other options will be back to full mana. So that's something to kind of consider for that build, and everything is a very nice low rarity. So that ends up working out decently to be able to get done the event. For Tuesday, we have ourselves a faction soul, as I mentioned, for City of Thieves. This has a restriction of blue and purple, which means Truffle Team. So you can run Truffle the entire time, which I'd probably do if I was going all the way. However, I'll just be doing the free battles, of course. But yeah, Forest Troll, Double King, Gobtruffle with Doomed Glaive, really great option. And if you don't happen to have Doomed Glaive, this kingdom does have, or this faction does have access to blue. So you are allowed to use a Mirage Queen. So you can use Forest Troll, Double King, Gobtruffle, and Mirage Queen. You won't gain class XP. However, you will have a half mana start to your entire team, so it's going to be pretty beneficial. You also lack the spell. However, you can use the Doomskull Convert off of Mirage Queen in order to deal with submerges whenever they do pop up. Other than that, if you're doing the low level one or if you're doing level 20 farming, Mountain Crusher, Rowanne, Leprechaun into Greed ends up working out pretty well. The main reason for Greed is this faction does have 3 different spots that can have a Cedric off of one room, and this is relevant because you would be able to get a lot of gold from that. Whenever you end up taking a Cedric room, it gives you a 100% gold bonus to every single one of your troops for the rest of the delve. And one nice thing about City of Thieves is it has it as the closest possible rooms, 3 of them only 1 room away. So if you end up getting a Cedric in any of those 3 locations, you go for it immediately. It's the only instance you ever go for a treasure room first is whenever you have a Cedric in play, and that will then bring your gold cap from the normal 100 all the way up to 500, and then you just simply cast a Greed into Leprechaun, and depending on what your stats are on your Greed, that will be enough to go get max gold in that combination. So you'll be getting 500 gold plus all your bonuses per every single battle, so you get to accumulate a lot of resources. As I mentioned, City of Thieves is an insanely good faction. It is miles ahead of every single other faction as far as its overall loot, mostly because of that Cedric mechanic more so than anything. And it has a really high multiplier, and it has 3 treasure rooms that are guaranteed, as well as I believe almost every room being a potential treasure room, even though it only has a 3 guarantee. But anyways, yeah, great faction. Either keep it at 20 if you already have it at 20, or just farm it up a bit, since you can technically buy as infinite many battles you want for the event if you so want to. Though, of course, you'd mostly only want to do that for the 500 Pure Faction if you haven't already. Other than that, speaking of Pure Faction, if you are going to be doing 500 Pure Faction or any number of Pure Faction, King of Thieves with Double Robber into Street Thief is pretty much the way to go. The only other change you might want to make is replace out one of the Tome Robbers with a second King of Thieves if you're finding it's a little bit hard to keep him alive. But King of Thieves, you basically buff up to make sure he doesn't die. Particularly on the final battle, you buff him up so that you can have him as your main kind of tank for the rest of your team. The Tome Robber, if you do end up dying on first slot, has some dodge, so that ends up being pretty convenient. She's going to be your main damage source, being able to do a bunch of skulls, up to 14 once you have all the gold that she needs to be able to do so, which ends up coming out to, what is that amount? It's 40 gold. Did I do that right? No. It's what is 8 times 5? 40. Yeah, I was right the first time. Ha! I was right, but it's 40 gold, and she'll end up doing the max capacity of her skull spam. So that's a pretty low margin to be able to get that much value. 14 skulls is definitely not a small amount. While gem spawn generally isn't used as much as gem converters, in this kind of context, it's not that bad, especially when you're using 2 of them, and you can spam them, of course, together. And other than that, Street Thief is mostly to counter out the enemies. Gold mechanics, you're going to be up against gold mechanics too on the first and final battle, of course. So you'll basically be able to do that in order to go and create a bunch of purple, which feeds literally every single other thing on your team other than the Street Thief itself. So it basically acts as a mana accumulator while making sure the enemy has 0 gold, so they won't be able to get as good robber value, nor will they be able to get as much King of Thieves robber value. So it ends up working out pretty decently in that regard. Other than that, Dervish event this Thursday. You can end up running a Mang, Great Maul, Scrabi, and Tyran the Rex. Basically just a Mang-oriented team of what's possible to be used. You are restricted to both monsters and from specifically Drifting Sands, so that drastically limits your options. However, that does mean every option you have will have 20% bonus, as those are the 2 10% bonuses that are available this week. So that'll be somewhat helpful. However, the choices that you have are pretty minuscule, so do be mindful of that. I'll most likely be running, due to the 20%, a Dawnbringer into just 3 yellows in order to be able to get value out of that, just to do the free battles. However, any kind of Mang-oriented team would be able to go all the way, and ends up working out pretty well. And if you need to, you can just build the cheaper version of what you basically used for the raid event, and just use that for the Dervish event as well, with the only exception that you have to make sure that they're all monsters, so you can't use that mana accumulation thing. So do be mindful of that if you do end up doing that switch. But anyways, other than that, there were 2 other things I want to show, because both of these mythics are available this week, and that is Phoenicia and Scorpius. Of course, the main thing that they are used for is Explore, one for accumulating trophies, and the other for accumulating a bunch of tokens. So we'll show Phoenicia first. Let's just go clear out a delve real quick. So we'll just go and do a battle, exit out, and just do a battle right here. Phoenicia, you'd want to go to a place that doesn't really have any spell reduction whatsoever, as well as no revives, so you can get the max amount of value from her. But we do it to 5. Main reason for moving it to 5 is 5 is the lowest level, where we would end up getting 2 trophies. As of a few patches ago, they end up making this change, and we can just go and one-shot it with Phoenicia. One thing you do want to make sure to do is, if you have it, set to as many magics as you possibly can, as this will help her damage. It is possible that you do not have enough stats to be able to do this method. However, it can still run pretty well in dungeons and pet battles, even if you don't have enough damage to one-shot Explore 5. But if you do have enough damage to one-shot Explore 5, you get quite a bit of value out of it, because we can go and do a single Leprechaun, get her to full, a little bit slower than that of like a Rowanne kind of variant at a lower rarity. However, it allows us to do 5. And as you can see here, oh, it didn't end up getting one-shot? Oh, yes. You actually don't want to do it in this one specific kingdom. There's one other thing that you want to make sure you avoid. I was going to say, why did it not kill? Any kingdom that has a storm at start of battle, you want to avoid. And that is one of them. Let's go to, where's the one that doesn't? I believe Leonis Empire is clear. Yeah, you can tell because I even have a Explore 5. I think this is the main location I normally do it to, just because you don't have to worry about any kind of annoying thing that would get in the way of her mighty one-shots. But same premise, we just throw a Leprechaun, throw a one-shot, and they all die. And this time it worked because there was Red Storm in play, and it didn't before because the enemy countered. Storms go in order from top left to bottom right, so if the enemy has any storm at start of battle, it'll counter out yours, and you'll want to avoid that with her, otherwise she won't get her one-shot damage. So there's one thing that can counter her pretty hard, but there are plenty of kingdoms that don't have them, and Leonis Empire is one of them. Other than that, of course, there is the Urskea thing. So Urskea is the only kingdom in the entire game right now that does not have immune to poison. This is really good with Scorpius, as it allows him to very quickly kill out Explore 12. So all we need to do is just get them poisoned. If you don't have Uriali, you can use pretty much any poison weapon that poisons all enemies. It doesn't have to be Uriali. However, Uriali is the quickest option that you can use, which is why I normally end up using her for this. But all we really have to do is just cast Scorpius, get over mana again, cast Scorpius, and then we win. Cycles pretty quickly. Can average around 30-35 seconds or so, and you just rinse and repeat until you get all your tokens that you want from Explore. Great option, and he's of course available in the event key drop table right now, with the Phoenicia being available in the Soulforge specifically. So both really nice methods that can be used for farming various things. The Scorpius for tokens and the Phoenicia for trophies, as well as just for quickly killing out a few other game modes like dungeons, pets, and anything else that's similarly around that amount of stats, where her full AoE would be able to one-shot or two-shot consistently. But anyways, guys, that'll wrap it up for this video. If you still have any other questions, feel free to leave it in the comment section below. We'll also be getting some spoilers on version 4.8 very soon, so I'll be able to talk about that soon on the channel. We'll probably be mentioning it on tomorrow night's stream, not tonight's stream. But after tonight's, they'll be doing the 4.8 preview stream, the developers. And then on our Tuesday night stream here at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we'll be pretty much discussing everything that they ended up going over, and everything that's public at that point, I'd be able to go and mention. So we'll be able to go and do that. And of course, this weekend, we'll have a nice shiny vault event combined with a new mythic. So we'll be able to go farm up a bunch of vault keys, farm up a bunch of resources, and go from there. And hopefully get lucky off of all that. But anyways, guys, if you still have any other questions, just leave them below. Thank you all so much for watching, and have a wonderful, wonderful week. Goodbye, everyone.